Hello YouTube, Myron Golden here, and I know you like this part of this video series, but you're going to love the entire thing. I invite you to go back and watch the entire thing in sequential order. So if you're jumping in the middle somewhere, go back, watch the first video, then the second, then the third. Watch these videos in sequential order. They will bless you beyond measure.
And so God is standing by his purpose. I've decided to align all of my plans with his purpose, and subsequently the power of heaven is available to me. The power of heaven is backing me, because God is not really, it's not that he's backing me, he's backing his purpose. And all we've done is aligned our plans to his purpose. You're a wonderful audience already. Are we having fun? Okay, so, I never preach a long sermon, by the way. It's my introduction that takes all the time. But I'm going to make to you the same promise and pledge that King Henry VIII made to his many wives when he said, "I will not keep you too long." Huh? Okay? But I can also assure you that my preaching and my teaching is never as long as it seems. Okay, I'm just checking your humor quotient, because you're going to need a humor quotient to work with me, all right? Because half of what I say is jokes, even though there's some good truth embedded in the jokes. All right, so I'm going to go very deep tonight, and I'm hoping that we've got our thinking caps on and that we're ready to think on a very profound level, because I'm going to share some things that are quite profound, and they may not come as revelation. They may simply come as a confirmation, because I actually don't think that God is ever saying anything to you that he hasn't already said within you. And what happens is you resonate with things that you hear. They make sense to you because at a profound spiritual level, you've already heard them. Does that make sense? It's kind of why we like people straight away, and we resonate, we connect with people straight away. Do I have a biblically studious audience in front of me tonight? Do I? So I guess I can tell you a little story out of the Kings, how that Elijah basically called for a famine over the kingdom of Ahab and Jezebel. Perhaps the darkest period in Israel's history was the result of a marriage between King Ahab and a Sidonian princess called Jezebel. And as the result of that covenant, it opened the door for a lot of demonic activity, darkness, idolatry to prevail in Israel. The prophets of God were outlawed. They were being hunted down. They were being murdered. It was a very dark period. And Elijah called for a famine over the land, and he said, "There will be no rain except I say so." All right, y'all remember that story? Okay, but careful what you wish for, okay? Because if there's no rain, then the prophet has to find something to eat. And so God said to him, "Okay, look, go down to the brook Kerith. There's water in the brook, right? And I've commanded the ravens to feed you there." Now, I love that, because God didn't say, "I've commanded the ravens to feed you." He said, "I've commanded the ravens to feed you there." In other words, I have sent the ravens to an address. I'm now sending you to that address. And if you are in the right place at the right time, you're going to be sustained. He then says to Elijah, "Go to Zarephath, because I've commanded a widow to sustain you." Interesting. Elijah gets there, meets a widow, baking a cake for herself and her son. And if God had said to me, "Okay, I've commanded this person to feed you," I would at least expect that the person was expecting or anticipating my arrival. But when Elijah showed up, the widow didn't know nothing about it. Okay? God has said, I've commanded the widow to feed you, but he shows up and the widow knows nothing about it. But when Elijah says to her, "Okay, look, bake me a cake first," she complied, because something in his voice resonated with something that was already inside of her. Because the commandment of God was not made to her conscious mind, but it was made to her spiritual essence. And because she had received it spiritually, she recognized, she resonated with an opportunity to be of service. And so I think that we're going to go very deep tonight. And are you happy to go deep? Yes. Okay. You sure you don't mind? Yes. Careful what you wish for. We are going deep. Because I'm going to start tonight, and I hopefully will take it to another level tomorrow night. But I'm going to start tonight on something that I call spiritual intelligence for entrepreneurs. Spiritual intelligence for entrepreneurs. So I might as well test the pen now and see how we go. Okay? So this is spiritual intelligence for entrepreneurs. Now, if you cannot read my writing, join the club. Okay? We already have something in common. All right? But we're going to get spiritual intelligence for entrepreneurs. There are 3 intelligences that are known to give you an advantage in business. All right? And it's accepted in virtually all schools of business, theory, and philosophy. There are 3 that give you an advantage, okay? Now, let me define them before you define them as I write them, okay? So the first is academic. Okay, so so the idea is not that you have academic qualifications, but you have the ability to grasp quickly a new idea or to comprehend something that is complex or complicated. If you can quickly grasp a new idea or comprehend something that is complicated, this will give you an advantage in business, specifically because the terrain is changing all the time, because new tools make old models obsolete. All right? So what we call a disruptive innovation is one that basically makes obsolete the old model. And of course, you're all familiar with Uber, right? Uber was considered a disruptive business model because it made obsolete, certainly in our country, the minicab and the taxi industry, because people were able to order a car to wherever they were. They didn't have to stand on the street waiting and hoping. They could order the car to wherever they were. And this meant that the taxis suffered, the minicab offices suffered. What about Amazon? Amazon has perhaps been one of the most disruptive business models, okay? Because we're able... Now, what has made Amazon, Airbnb, or Uber effective is disruptive technology, right? So the digital revolution, the app, it has basically changed the business landscape. But it has only changed it for people who possess a degree of academic intelligence, in that they can quickly grasp a new idea and they can comprehend something that is complicated. So, of course, there's some people who are still way back in the past simply because they won't even find the courage to try to use apps. That make sense?